Hello, dear friends. Peace is not just the absence of war, but a much broader spiritual concept involving justice, respect for human rights, equality, and dialogue. Opinion piece. Peacemaking. Universal harmony. Apocalyptic science. Replacing the UN. World reconciliation. International concord. Mutual benefit assured. Let's start. The growing trend towards global pacification is articulated through social movements, peace negotiations, and the promotion of humanitarian and non-violent values, with the aim of building a more just and peaceful world. The peace movement is based on principles such as solidarity, cooperation, and respect for human rights, seeking a lasting peace that is not limited to the absence of war, but that promotes a dynamic process of collaboration. The concept of mutually assured destruction of the Cold War is based on the idea that the use of nuclear weapons by one side would result in the annihilation of both, which acts as a deterrent to avoid conflict. However, in a modern context, a paradigm shift has been put forward towards mutually assured benefit that encourages cooperation between the parties involved, reducing the need for destructive competition. Nuclear war has already destroyed civilization on this planet at least twice, according to Benjamin Fulford. This time, in order to avoid all-out war, a plan agreed upon by various Western and Eastern secret societies has been adopted that calls for replacing the current UN-centered international architecture with a global village of 7 groups that would deal with situations that affect all. The world has suffered an infection and is about to be cured. Opinions. Trump ends war in Ukraine, vows to withdraw from UN and NATO, avets world war, according to Judy Pinkton. Elon Musk backed the call for the US to withdraw from NATO and the UN after months of bad-mouthing the two international organizations. According to Dave 68, there are 8 warning signs of an impending apocalypse that we should pay attention to: environmental degradation, geopolitical tensions, economic instability, health crisis, technological dependence, natural disasters, resource scarcity, and social division. According to Charlie Ward, the coalition is running covert operations to enforce the user agenda. The largest wealth transfer in history is happening now. The war for financial and political liberation is in full swing, and every move is being executed with precision. Destruction, struggles, and conflicts. According to Kavamur, portals are being opened in regions that allow dark entities to enter our dimension, and the clash between light and darkness will increase. This is a spiritual warfare, and it is happening right now. This will increase as we eagerly await change. This is why there is so much infighting and conflict lately, especially on social media. There have been many rituals and ceremonies that have created frequencies that provide expansion for these dark entities. As always, never fear and cultivate your inner light. The goal of this being is to create distrust between those who have been on good terms and war between those who could have peace if they wanted to. This destruction is the most commonly used method, as it allows darkness to mix with the light without anyone noticing until widespread destruction is widespread. Be vigilant and alert, as there are portals everywhere. Choose wisely and go slowly. Geopolitics. Trump is determined to repair the damage to US-Russia relations. Trump advocates dialogue with Russia and China on denuclearization. He declared that nuclear power is crazy, and indicated that it would be great to get rid of these weapons. Negotiations between the US and Ukraine will begin on March 11th in Riyadh. Delegations will include several officials who will discuss a ceasefire. Putin says Russia seeks peace in Ukraine that guarantees tranquility. The geopolitical situation is increasingly critical for Zelensky. Zelensky plays with the World War. He continues to insist on his rhetoric about the recovery of nuclear weapons and the interference of other countries in his confrontation with Russia. Europe leaders agreed to increase defense spending to rearm Europe. EU leaders endorsed 150 billion euros in defense loans and set military purchasing priorities. Zelensky ambush of Trump to isolate him orchestrated by the European Union. The EU supports Zelensky against Trump and then says it will consult its plan with the US. France declares war on Russia. Macron asked the European countries to increase their spending and defense budget, stating that Europe must be prepared to go alone against Russia. France to continue sharing military intelligence with Ukraine after US blackout. Russia calls Macron's storyteller for his nuclear ambitions. Putin responds to Macron's nuclear proposal. He can't stay still, he said. Moscow describes Macron's nuclear rhetoric as a threat to Russia. Russia assures that it will not allow the deployment of European troops in Ukraine. Neither EU nor NATO can supply what Ukraine spends on a day conflict economy. The ECB lowers its interest rates by a quarter of a point. The ECB worsens its inflation and growth forecasts. The European Central Bank admits that there is uncertainty everywhere. The IMF warns of an adverse economic effect due to US tariffs. Trudeau and Trump have heated a 50-minute call about the trade war. An Obama judge freezes France to the Trump administration. The economic transition has begun. The Fed thinks the tax cut will lead to a recession, but the country is already in a recession. Trump has added more tariffs to the mix. Canada and Mexico will cave to his demands. Tariffs will create jobs in the long run. Asia. China lashes out tariffs. There are no winners in a trade war, they said. China raises its tone against Trump and claims to be prepared for the trade war. Thailand, South Korea and the US join forces. China and Russia dominate the global race for quantum computers. Although China dominates the production of rare earths, the global race for semiconductors depends on who seizes Africa's resources. US considers plan to disrupt oil supplies to Iran. According to Tucker Carlson, they overthrew the whites in South Africa, and since then the country has sunk into the abyss, and things are only going to get worse. Americas. Trump will not impose tariffs on Mexican products included in the free trade agreement for another month. The US ends Chevron's license to export Venezuelan oil. Lula invites Mexico, Uruguay and Colombia to participate in the BRICS summit in Brazil. Coffee production in Colombia reaches its highest level since 1996. The UN expresses concern about the violence of armed groups in Colombia. Bolivia will produce industrialized iron for the first time. Thursday of Comadres, declared cultural heritage of Bolivia. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.